Hello, friends! I don't know if you can see me at all. Literally moments before we started, everything bunked out. I am just... welcome back, first of all. I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to be back reading. I have not unpacked anything yet. This is not how it's going to look like at all. The stuff is still lying around. I've moved, for those of you who don't know. My light bunked out, my screen bunked out literally 20 seconds before it started, so I don't know if you can even hear me. You see me? Do you hear me? Good. Yeah, this is all going to be an experiment for the first couple of times here. I just want to get this reading going. But yeah, I've moved. It was a crazy moving week of moving the heaviest things in the sun possible, sweating, just lying down, having to sweat for 20 minutes, then unpacking. It's still all going. So this is like not where the camera's going to be, where the mic's going to be, where anything's going to be. All I got is these hue lights and I make it a bit purple. That's it. And apparently the light's not working, but you see me and you hear me, right? Okay, awesome. Yeah, so it's gonna look very different. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're all sweating as much as I am here in Vancouver. I don't know where you are, but man, it's always hot and it's great. I'm loving it. I don't have Dexter cam, but here he is. Here's the little guy. He's back. Hey, Dex. Say hi to the people. Say hi to the people. Yeah. Not much else to say other than that. I was just moving. I'm doing well. I hope you all. Miss you too, Mark. Mark! And let's get back to the reading, shall we? So Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix is what we're going through. What's the last thing that happened? Oh man, it's been a while, huh? It's been a while. Oh, right. Oh yeah, Fred and George pieced out in the most spectacular fashion. In the most spectacular fashion, they pieced out, ruined Umbridge's.
Oh, go on, get out of here!
Get out of there! They ruined her day, ruined everything. There was fireworks everywhere, and now, what's happening now? Oh right, yeah. Ron, Hermione, and Harry are just discussing everything that's happened. The Quidditch game coming up, I think, or that happened. I think that's where we were. Okay, that's where we ended up. Welcome, Violet. Violet is here. I like your name, Violet. Is it your first time? If yes, oh, welcome. Awesome. This is your first live. Well, this is all gonna change. I'm gonna be setting up lights again and all kinds of different things. It's a smaller room, but it's great because I'm living with a whole group of people. I'm living in a house, with me included, 7 adults. One 11-year-old kid, and there's going to be a newborn. How crazy is that? It's awesome, though. I love it. We've got a volleyball net set up in the backyard. We play almost every day. It's so great. I'm happy. Okay, let's get back into it, shall we? Let's get back into it. Where were we? I think we were on page 600. This is how much we got left of the book. It's not a lot. Not a lot. Dexter loves his new home. Okay, let's get this going. Where were we? Harry interrupted her before she had even started. It's no good nagging me. It's done, he said firmly. Fred and George have got the gold. Oh yeah, they're talking about how did they make all this money to open up their shop? Yeah. Spent a good bit of it too, by the sound of it. And I can't get it back from them, and I don't want to. So save your breath, Hermione. I wasn't going to say anything about Fred and George, she said in an injured voice. Ron snorted disbelievingly. And Hermione threw him a very dirty look. No, I wasn't, she said angrily. As a matter of fact, I was going to ask Harry when he's going to go back to Snape and ask for more occlumency lessons. Harry's heart sank. Once they had exhausted the subject of Fred and George's dramatic departure, which admittedly had taken many hours, Ron and Hermione had wanted to hear news of Sirius. As Harry had not confided in them the reason he had wanted to talk to Sirius in the first place, it had been hard to think of what to tell them. He had ended up saying truthfully that Sirius wanted Harry to resume occlumency lessons. He had been regretting this ever since. Hermione would not let the subject drop, and kept reverting to it when Harry least expected it. We are almost to the end. Yeah, we are. Baby's first bedtime story, Order of the Phoenix. Yeah. And then people died. Sleep well, child. Sleep well, child. But then everyone died. Sleep, child. And then more people died. Sleep, child. Sleep. And then everybody died again. Sleep, child. Oh man. Okay, sorry, let's get back to it. You can't tell me you've stopped having funny dreams, Hermione said now, because Ron told me you were muttering in your sleep again last night. Harry threw Ron a furious look. Ron had the grace to look ashamed of himself. You were only muttering a bit, he mumbled apologetically. Something about just a bit further. I dreamed I was watching you a lot play Quidditch, Harry lied brutally. Oh yeah, we've gone through this section, but I think that was the last section. I was trying to get you to stretch out a bit further to grab the quaffle. Ron's ears went red. Harry felt a kind of vindictive pleasure. He had not, of course, dreamed anything of the sort. Last night he had once again made the journey along the Department of Mysteries corridor. He had passed through the circular room, then the room full of clicking and dancing light, until he found himself again inside that cavernous room full of shelves on which were ranged dusty glass spheres. He had hurried straight towards row number 97, turned left, and run along it. It had probably been then that he had spoken aloud, just a bit further, for he felt his conscious self struggling to wake, and before he had reached the end of the row, he had found himself lying in bed again, gazing up at the canopy of his four-poster. You are trying to block your mind, aren't you? Said Hermione, looking beadily at Harry. You are keeping going with your occlumency. Of course I am, said Harry, trying to sound as though this question was insulting, but not quite meeting her eye. The truth was he was so intensely curious about what was hidden in that room full of dusty orbs that he was quite keen for the dreams to continue. The problem was that with just under a month to go until the exams and every free moment devoted to revision, his mind seemed so saturated with information that when he went to bed he found it very difficult to get to sleep at all. And when he did, his overwrought brain presented him with most nights with stupid dreams about the exams. He also suspected that part of his mind, that part that often spoke in Hermione's voice, now felt guilty on the occasion it strayed down that corridor, ending in the black door, and sought to wake him before he could reach the journey's end. Oh my gosh, the glasses and scar! What am I doing? What a fool am I! What a fool am I indeed! Here we are. Here's my scar. Oh, I can't believe I forgot that. It's been such a long time. Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay, thank you for reminding me, important nobody. Okay. You know, said Ron, whose ears were still flaming red, if Montague doesn't recover before Slytherin play Hufflepuff, we might be with a chance of winning the cup. Yeah, I suppose so, said Harry, glad of a change of subject. I mean, we've won one, lost one. If Slytherin lose to Hufflepuff next Saturday... Yeah, that's right, said Harry, losing track of what he was agreeing to. Cho Chang had just walked across the courtyard, determinedly not looking at him. Yeah, it's a neon scar. You can't even really see it because the light's not... Light bunked out on me. I don't know what went on. The final match of the Quidditch season, Gryffindor versus Ravenclaw, was to take place on the last weekend of May, although Slytherin had been narrowly defeated by Hufflepuff in their last match. Gryffindor were not daring to hope for victory, due mainly, though of course nobody said it to him, to Ron's abysmal goalkeeping record. He, however, seemed to have found a new optimism. I mean, I can't get worse, can I? He told Harry and Hermione grimly over breakfast on the morning of the match. Nothing to lose now, is there? You know, said Hermione, as she and Harry walked down the pitch a little lit. Oh. Some weird music overlap there. Where are we? You know, said Hermione, as she and Harry walked down the pitch a little later in the midst of a very excitable crowd. I think Ron might do better without Fred and George around. They never exactly gave him a lot of confidence. That's true. They did nothing for his confidence. Luna Lovegood overtook them with what appeared to be a live eagle perched on top of her head. Okay. Okay, yeah. Totally normal. Oh, I'm just getting ready for the morning. Okay, here we go. Normal day. Bye-bye. It's completely normal. I really can't wait for you to start the next book. You are going to love it. But I'm never going to start the next book because I'm going to end after today's reading. I'm never going to read again. Too late. Lois deleted it. Too late. I read it. I really should just not read the newest chat things down there. I'll just read the top ones and then wait for Lois to moderate the few items below. Where are we? Oh gosh, I forgot, said Hermione, watching the eagle flapping its wings as Luna walked serenely past a group of cackling and pointing Slytherins. Cho will be playing, won't she? Harry, who had not forgotten this, merely grunted. They found seats in the topmost row of the stands. It was a fine, clear day. Ron could not wish for better, and Harry found himself hoping against hope that Ron would not give the Slytherins cause for more rousing choruses of "Weasley is our king!" Miss that song. It's my favorite song of all time. Lee Jordan, who had been very dispirited since Fred and George had left, was commentating as usual. As the team zoomed out onto the pitch, he named the players with something less than his usual gusto. Lee Jordan, he's Australian, yeah. Bradley, Davies, Chang, he said, and Harry felt his stomach perform less of a backflip, more of a feeble lurch, as Cho walked out on the pitch, her shiny black hair rippling in the slight breeze. He was not sure what he wanted to happen anymore, except that he could not stand any more Rose. Even the sight of her chatting animatedly? That's a weird word. I've never said that before. Animatedly. To Roger Davies as they prepared to mount their brooms caused him only a slight twinge of jealousy. And they're off, said Lee, and Davies takes the quaffle immediately. Ravenclaw Captain Davies with the quaffle. He dodges Johnson, he dodges Bell, he dodges Spinnet as well. He's going straight for goal. He's going to shoot and Lee swore very loudly. And he scored. Harry and Hermione groaned with the rest of the Gryffindors. Predictably, horribly, the Slytherin... Actually, let's get some Quidditch music going, huh? How about some Quidditch music? Turn this off and put on some Quidditch music. You let me know if this is too loud, if you can hear it, etc., yeah? Okay, there we go. Is this too loud? I don't know. You let me know. Alright? Harry and Hermione groaned with the rest of the Gryffindors. Predictably, horribly. The Slytherins on the... Whoa! Holy smokes! And we're doing a little bit there, huh? Composer. Okay, that should be good. The Slytherins on the other side of the stands began to sing, "Weasley cannot save a thing! He cannot block a single ring!" Harry, said a hoarse voice in Harry's ear. Hermione. I don't know what that is. Harry looked round and saw Hagrid's enormous bearded face sticking between the seats. Turn it up. It's a little soft. I don't trust Nathan. Can somebody else tell me if it's too loud or too quiet? Because I don't trust Nathan. Apparently, he had squeezed his way all along the row behind. For the first and second years he had just passed had a ruffled, flattened look about them. For some reason, Hagrid was bent double, as though anxious not to be seen, though he was still at least 4 feet taller than everybody else. It's okay for the volume. Thank you. I knew not to trust Nathan.
Listen, he whispered. Can you come with me? Now, while everyone's watching the match.
No. Can't it wait, Hagrid? Asked Harry. Till the match is over?
No,
said Hagrid.
No, Harry. It's gotta be now, while everyone's looking the other way. Please.
Hagrid's nose was gently dripping blood. Yeesh! His eyes were both blackened. Harry had not seen him this close up since his return to the school. He looked utterly woebegone. Course, said Harry. At once. Course will come. He and Hermione edged back along the row of seats, causing much grumbling among the students, who had to stand up for them. The people in Hagrid's row were not complaining, merely attempting to make themselves as small as possible.
Oh, I appreciate this, you do. I really do,
said Hagrid, as they reached the stairs. He kept looking around nervously as they descended towards the lawn below.
I just hope she doesn't notice us going.
First time live, your readings are great. Carolina, welcome! Welcome, Carolina and Violet and whoever else is here for the first time. Very happy to have you on board. Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying it, said Hagrid as they reached the stairs. He kept looking around nervously as they descended towards the lawn below.
I just hope she doesn't notice us going.
You mean Umbridge? This music doesn't really fit, but whatever, said Harry. She won't. She's got her whole inquisitorial squad sitting with her. Didn't you see? She must be expecting trouble at the match. I'm gonna put this music back on, but for this it's just a bit too crazy. So how about we just put on back the normal music, yeah? Let's do that.
Yeah, well, a bit of trouble wouldn't hurt,
said Hagrid, pausing to peer around the edge of the stands to make sure the stretch of lawn between there and his cabin was deserted.
Gives us more time.
What is it, Hagrid? Said Hermione, looking up at him with a concerned expression on her face as they hurried across the grass towards the edge of the forest.
You'll see in a mo,
said Hagrid, looking over his shoulder as a great roar rose from the stands behind them.
Hey, did somebody just score?
It'll be Ravenclaw, said Harry heavily.
Good,
said Hagrid distractedly.
That's good.
Why? They had to jog to keep up with him as he strode across the lawn, looking around with every other step. When they reached his cabin, Hermione turned automatically left towards the front door. Hagrid, however, walked straight past it into the shade of the trees on the outermost edge of the forest, where he picked up a crossbow that was leaning against a tree. When he realized they were no longer with him, he turned.
We're going in here,
he said, jerking his shaggy head behind him. Into the forest? Said Hermione, perplexed. We're gonna find out why he's all bruised and battered this whole time. We're gonna... I feel we are very close. This is a little jarring. I don't know what you're talking about. Into the forest? Said Hermione, perplexed.
Yeah, said Hagrid. Come on now, quick, before we're spotted.
Harry and Hermione looked at each other, then ducked into the cover of the trees behind Hagrid, who was already striding away from them into the green gloom, his crossbow over his arm. Harry and Hermione ran to catch up with him. Hagrid, why are you armed? Said Harry.
Just a precaution,
said Hagrid, shrugging his massive shoulders. You didn't bring your crossbow the day you showed us the Thestrals, said Hermione timidly.
Nah, well, we weren't going in so far then, said Hagrid. And anyway, that was before Firenze left the forest, wasn't it?
Why does Firenze leaving make a difference? Asked Hermione curiously.
Because the other centaurs are good and riled at me, that's why,
said Hagrid quietly, glancing around.
They used to be... well, you couldn't call them friendly, but we got on all right. Kept themselves to themselves, but always turned up if I wanted a word. Not anymore.
He sighed deeply. Firenze said they're angry because he went to work for Dumbledore, Harry said, tripping on a protruding root because he was busy watching Hagrid's profile.
Yeah, Yeah!
said Hagrid heavily.
Well, angry doesn't cover it. Ruddy livid. If I hadn't stepped in, I reckon they'd have kicked Frenzy to death.
They attacked him, said Hermione, sounding shocked.
Yep,
said Hagrid gruffly, forcing his way through several low-hanging branches.
he had half the herd on him.
And you stopped it, said Harry, amazed and impressed. By yourself?
Course I did. Couldn't stand by and watch 'em kill him, could I?
said Hagrid.
Lucky I was passing, really. And I'd have thought Frenzy might have remembered that before he started sending me stupid warnings,
he added hotly and unexpectedly. I like it when he gets angry. Harry and Hermione looked at each other, startled, but Hagrid, scowling, did not elaborate.
Anyway,
he said, breathing a little more heavily than usual.
Since then the other centaur's been living with me, and the trouble is they've got a lot of influence in the forest. Cleverest creatures in here.
Is that why we're here, Hagrid? said Hermione. The centaurs?
Oh, no,
said Hagrid, shaking his head dismissively.
No, it's not them. Well, of course, they could complicate the problem, yeah, but you'll see what I mean in a bit.
On this incomprehensible note, he fell silent and forged a little ahead. I'm going to make on intense music, how about that? Taking one stride for every 3 of theirs, so that they had great trouble keeping up with him. The path was becoming increasingly overgrown, and the trees grew so closely together as they walked further and further into the forest that it was dark as dusk. They were soon a long way past the clearing where Hagrid had shown them the thestrals, but Harry felt no sense of unease until Hagrid stepped unexpectedly off the path and began wending his way in and out of trees towards the dark heart of the forest. "Hagrid!" said Harry, fighting his way through thickly knotted brambles, over which Hagrid stepped with ease, and remembering very vividly what had happened to him on the other occasion he had stepped off the forest path. "Where are we going?"
Bit further,
said Hagrid over his shoulder.
Come on, Harry. We need to keep together now.
It was a great struggle to keep up with Hagrid, what with the branches and thickets of thorn through which Hagrid marched as easily as if they were cobwebs, but which snagged. They just left the whole Quidditch match. Just completely left, and they just pieced out. Oh, I didn't put on the music. I will, though. I'm always concerned about offending Lois. But if you start typing, it should pop up. Where are we? They were so deep in the forest now that sometimes all Harry could see of Hagrid in the gloom was a massive dark shape ahead of him. Any sound seemed threatening in the muffled silence. The breaking of a twig echoed loudly, and the tiniest rustle of movement, even though it might have been made by an innocent sparrow, caused Harry to peer through the gloom for a culprit. It occurred to him that he had never managed to get this far into the forest without meeting some kind of creature. Their absence struck him as rather ominous. Ooh, what about that huge-ass spider? What's his name again? Clickety Mouthful? Yeah, that's his name. Clickety Mouthful. What's that giant spider's name? Oh, yeah, I hope that guy turns up again. That'd be cool. Aragog, that's his name, not but let's just call him Clickety Mouthful. Yeah. That's his name from now on. Aragog. I named the Clickety Mouthful. Hagrid, would it be all right if we lit our wands? Said Hermione quietly.
All right,
Hagrid whispered back. In fact, he stopped suddenly and turned around. Hermione walked right into him and was knocked backwards. Harry caught her just before she hit the forest floor.
Maybe we best just stop for a moment so I can fill you in, said Hagrid, before we get there, like.
Or Joshua's name. Garg. Hungry Clickety Mouthful. Aragorn, King of Gondor. That's the spider. The spider is Aragorn. That's funny. Good, said Hermione. As Harry set her back on her feet, they both murmured, Lumos, and their wand tips ignited. Hagrid's face swam through the gloom by the light of the two wavering beams, and Harry saw again that he looked nervous and sad.
Right, said Hagrid. Well, see, the thing is...
He took a deep breath.
Well, there's a good chance I'm going to be getting the sack any day now,
he said. Harry and Hermione looked at each other, then back at him. But you've lasted this long, Hermione said tentatively. What makes you think...
Umbridge reckons it was me that put that niffler in the office.
And was it? Said Harry, before he could stop himself.
No, it really well wasn't,
said Hagrid indignantly.
Only anything to do with magical creatures, and she thinks it's got something to do with me. You know, she's been looking for a chance to get rid of me ever since I got back. I don't want to go, of course, but if it wasn't for... well, the special circumstances I'm about to explain to you, I'd leave right now, before she's got the chance to do it in front of the whole school, like she did with Trelawney.
Harry and Hermione both made noises of protest, but Hagrid overrode them with a wave of one of his enormous hands.
It's not the end of the world. I'll be able to help Dumbledore once I'm out of here. I can be useful to the Order, and you lot will have grubbly plank. You'll get through your exams fine.
His voice trembled and broke.
Oh, don't worry about me,
he said hastily, as Hermione made to pat his arm. He pulled his enormous spotted handkerchief from the pocket of his waistcoat and mopped his eyes with it.
Look, I wouldn't be telling you this at all if I didn't have to. See, if I go, well, I can leave without telling someone, because I'll need you two to help me, and Ron, if he's willing.
Of course we'll help you, said Harry at once. What do you want us to do? Hagrid gave a great sniff and patted Harry wordlessly on the shoulder with such force Harry was knocked sideways into a tree.
Oh, I knew you'd say yes,
said Hagrid into his handkerchief.
But I won't never forget. Well, come on, just a little further through here. Watch yourselves now, there's nettles.
This poor guy. They walked on in silence for another 15 minutes. Harry had opened his mouth to ask how much further they had to go when Hagrid threw out his right arm to signal that they should stop. He didn't clear up anything. Before we get there, he wanted to clear them. I didn't clear up anything.
Really easy,
he said softly.
Very quiet now.
They crept forwards, and Harry saw that they were facing a large, smooth mound of earth, nearly as tall as Hagrid that he thought, with a jolt of dread, was sure to be the lair of some enormous animal. Trees had been ripped up at the roots all around the mound, so that it stood on a bare patch of ground, surrounded by heaps of trunks and boughs that formed a kind of fence, or barricade, behind which Harry, Hermione, and Hagrid now stood.
Sleeping,
breathed Hagrid. Sure enough, Harry could hear a distant, rhythmic rumbling that sounded like a pair of enormous lungs at work. He glanced sideways at Hermione, who was gazing at the mound with her mouth slightly open. She looked utterly terrified. "Hagrid," she said in a whisper, barely audible over the sound of the sleeping creature. "Who is he?" Harry found this an odd question. "What is it?" was the one he had planning on asking. "Hagrid, you told us," said Hermione, her wand now shaking in her hand. "You told us none of them wanted to come." Harry looked from her to Hagrid, and then, as realization hit him, he looked back at the mound with a small gasp of horror. The great mound of earth on which he, Hermione, and Hagrid could easily have stood was moving slowly up and down in time with the deep, grunting breathing. It was not a mound at all. It was the curved back of what was clearly...
"Well, no, he didn't want to come," said Hagrid, sounding desperate. "But I had to bring him, Hermione, I had to."
So it's a giant. He's been hanging out with a giant. He's been hanging out with a giant. John Voth, can you make a premonition on the whole McGonagall, Flitwick, and Sprout love triangle?
Premonition, idiot. It's time for John's premonition.
Here's my prediction on this love triangle. They're all gonna bang. But why? Asked Hermione, who sounded as though she wanted to cry. Why? What? Oh, Hagrid!
I knew if I just got him back,
Said Hagrid, sounding close to tears himself.
and taught him a few manners, I'd be able to take him outside.
Oh no, that's not a giant!
I'd be able to take him outside and show everyone he's harmless.
That's, That's, little Fang Snapper McGee. Oh, I forget. Yeah, that, the from the first book, right? Has to be from the first book. Harmless, said Hermione shrilly, and Hagrid made frantic shushing noises with his hands as the enormous creature before them grunted loudly and shifted in its sleep. He's been hurting you all this time, hasn't he? That's why you've had all these injuries.
He don't know his own strength, said Hagrid earnestly, and he's getting better. He's not fighting so much anymore.
So this is why it took you 2 months to get home, said Hermione distractedly. Oh, Hagrid, why did you bring him back if he didn't want to come? Wouldn't he have been happier with his own people?
They were all bullying him, Hermione, because he's so small, said Hagrid.
Small? Said Hermione. Small? 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 Fluffy. Yeah. Fluffy. That's funny. Fluffy. Okay, small.
Hermione, I couldn't leave him,
said Hagrid, tears now trickling down his bruised face into his beard.
See, he's my brother.
Oh, so it's a giant. Hermione simply stared at him, her mouth open. Hagrid, when you say brother, said Harry slowly, do you mean...
Well, half-brother,
amended Hagrid.
Turns out me mother took up with another giant when she left me dad, and she went and had Grawp there.
Grawp? Said Harry.
Yeah, well, that's what it sounds like when he says his name, said Hagrid anxiously. He don't speak a lot of English. I've been trying to teach him. Anyway, she don't seem to have liked him much more than she liked me. See, with giantesses, what counts is producing good big kids, and he's always been a bit on the runty side for a giant. Only 16 foot.
Oh yes, tiny, said Hermione, with a kind of hysterical sarcasm. Absolutely minuscule!
He was being kicked around by all of them. I just couldn't leave him.
Smeagol, is that you? Did Madame Maxime want to bring him back? Asked Harry.
She could see it was right important to me,
said Hagrid, twisting his enormous hands.
But she got a bit tired of him after a while, I must admit. So we split up on the journey home. She promised not to tell anyone, though.
How on earth did you get him back without anyone noticing? Said Harry.
Well, that's why it took so long, see? Said Hagrid. Could only travel by night and through wild country and stuff. Of course, he covers the ground pretty well when he wants to, but he keeps wanting to go back.
Oh, Hagrid, why on earth didn't you let him? Said Hermione, flopping down on a ripped-up tree and burying her face in her hands. What do you think you're going to do with a violent giant who doesn't even want to be here?
Well, now, violent? That's a bit harsh.
Said Hagrid, still twisting his hands agitatedly.
I'll admit he might have taken a couple of swings at me when he's in a bit of a bad mood, but he's getting better, loads better, settling down well.
What are those ropes for then? Harry asked. Oh gosh, it's the whole load disk space thing again. Sorry, everybody. Need to do this or else it'll bunk everything out. Blah, 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 blah. John, you idiot. John, you're so dumb. John, how could you? What are you doing, John? Get a hold of yourself, John. You don't know what you're doing. I get it, everybody. Leave me alone. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Back at it. He had just noticed ropes thick as saplings stretching from the ground to the trunks of the largest nearby trees, towards the place where Grawp lay curled on the ground with his back to them. "You have to keep him tied up," said Hermione faintly.
Well, yeah,
said Hagrid, looking anxious.
see, it's like I say, he doesn't really know his own strength.
Yeah, I'm basically doing Mark there. Harry understood now why there had been such a suspicious lack of any other living creature in this part of the forest. "So, what is it you want Harry and Ron and me to do?" Hermione asked apprehensively.
Look after him,
said Hagrid croakily.
after I'm gone.
Harry and Hermione exchanged miserable looks. Harry, like, how the heck are they supposed to do that now? Harry, uncomfortably aware that he had already promised Hagrid that he would do whatever he asked. What does it involve exactly?" Hermione inquired.
Not food or anything, said Hagrid eagerly. You can get his own food, no problem. Birds and deer and stuff. No, it's company he needs. If I just knew someone was carrying on trying to help him a bit, teaching him, you know?
Harry said nothing. He's a good brother. He's a good brother. Harry said nothing, but turned to look back at the gigantic form lying asleep on the ground in front of them. Unlike Hagrid, who simply looked like an oversized human, Grawp looked strangely misshapen. What Harry had taken to be a vast, mossy boulder to the left of the great earthen mound, he now recognized as Grawp's head. It was much larger in proportion to the body than a human head, and was almost perfectly round and covered with tightly curling, close-growing hair the color of bracken. As he looked further down his body, he noticed that his butt was ginormously large, so large that the dumps he must be producing would be sickening. Wow. Really took it somewhere there, Rowling. Really took it somewhere there. All right. The rim of a singly large, fleshy ear was visible on top of the head, which seemed to sit, rather like Uncle Vernon's, directly upon the shoulders, with little or no neck in between. The back, under what looked like a dirty brownish smock, comprised of animal skins sewn roughly together, was very broad, and as Grawp slept, it seemed to strain a little at the rough seams of the skins. The legs were curled up under the body. Harry could see the soles of enormous, filthy, bare feet, large as sledges, resting one on top of the other on the earthy forest floor. You almost got me there. You want us to teach him, Harry said in a hollow voice. He now understood what Firenze's warning had meant. His attempt is not working. He would do better to abandon it. Still so bad. Of course, the other creatures who lived in the forest would have heard Hagrid's fruitless attempts to teach Grawp English.
Yeah, even if you just talk to him for a bit, said Hagrid hopefully. Because I reckon if you can talk to people, he'll understand more that we all like him, really, and want him to stay.
Harry looked at Hermione, who peered back at him from between the fingers over her face. Kinds of makes you wish we had Norbert back, doesn't it? He said, and she gave a very shaky laugh.
You'll do it then,
said Hagrid, who did not seem to have caught what Harry had just said. We'll, said Harry, already bound by his promise. We'll try, Hagrid.
I knew I could count on you, Harry,
Hagrid said, beaming in the very watery way, and dabbing at his face with his handkerchief again.
And I don't want you to put yourself out too much, like. I know you've got exams. If you could just Nip down here in your invisibility cloak maybe once a week and have a little chat with him. I'll wake him up. I'll wake him up then. Introduce you.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Do you think there's a creature babysitter for a job in the wizarding world? Should be. Definitely should be.
What? No! Said Hermione, jumping up. Hagrid, no! I don't wake him, really. We don't need...
But Hagrid had already stepped over the great tree trunk in front of them and was proceeding towards Grawp. Oh, give me some just adjectives for Grawp. Like, I mean, he's a giant. Oh, I do have a certain voice thing on here. I can test out a couple of giant voices on here too. So let's see. When he was about 10 feet away, he lifted a long, broken bow from the ground, smiled reassuringly over his shoulder at Harry and Hermione, then poked Grawp hard in the middle of the back with the end of the bow. What a way to wake him. The giant gave a roar that echoed around the silent forest. Roar! Birds in the treetops overhead rose, twittering from their perches and soared away. In front of Harry and Hermione, meanwhile, the gigantic Grawp was rising from the ground, which shuddered as he placed an enormous hand upon it to push himself onto his knees. He turned his head to see who and what had disturbed him.
All right, Grawpy,
said Grawpy, said Hagrid in a would-be cheery voice, backing away with the long bow raised, ready to poke Grawp again.
Had a nice sleep, eh?
Harry and Hermione retreated as far as they could while still keeping the giant within their sights. Grawp knelt between two trees he had not yet uprooted. They looked up into his startlingly huge face that resembled a gray full moon swimming in the gloom of the clearing. It was as though the features had been hewn onto a great stone ball. The nose was stubby and shapeless, the mouth lopsided and full of misshapen yellow teeth the size of half-breaks. The eyes, small by giant standards, were a muddy greenish-brown, and just now were half gummed together with sleep. Grawp raised dirty knuckles, each as big as a cricket ball, to his eyes, rubbed vigorously, then, without warning, pushed himself to his feet with surprising speed and agility. Bow, cow, bow. Okay, there we go.
Oh my! Oh my! Oh my!
Harry heard Hermione squeal, terrified beside him. The trees to which the other ends of the ropes around Grawp's wrists and ankles were attached creaked ominously. Hey, little premonish here. Didn't happen. There we go. It's time for John's time. That by the way, that's by Sayre. He's got some great tunes. A great singer, good friend. It's gonna be Hermione, because Hagrid's like tying him up and poking him and everything. It's going to be Hermione who wins this giant over through her tender, loving care, through her love of the put down and the oppressed. It's gonna be Hermione who has the key to unlock this giant's heart, to open that door so that friendship may enter through that door. Have a seat at the couch in the living room of friendship. It will be Hermione. It will be Hermione. It will be Hermione. All right, let's keep going, shall we? Where are we? He was, as Hagrid had said, at least 16 feet tall. We've lost John this time. Here he goes. Are we getting all that, Hermione? Lois. Gazing blarily around, Grawp reached out a hand the size of a beach umbrella, seized a bird's nest from the upper branches of a towering pine, and turned it upside down with a roar of apparent displeasure. That there was no bird in it. Eggs fell like grenades towards the ground, and Hagrid threw his arms over his head to protect himself.
Anyway, Grawpy,
shouted Hagrid, looking up apprehensively in case of further falling eggs.
I've brought some friends to meet you. Remember, I told you I might? Remember when I said I might have to go on a little trip and leave them to look after you for a bit? Remember that, Grawpy?
But Grawp merely gave another low roar. It was hard to say whether he was listening to Hagrid or whether he even recognized the sounds Hagrid was making as speech. He had now seized the top of the pine tree and was pulling it towards him, evidently for the simple pleasure of seeing how far it would spring back when he let go. It's just, I did just call you Hermione, Lois. Maybe you are like the Hermione. You're the McGonagall Hermione. Should we send help? Is John okay? John, blink 5 times fast if you need help. Don't need help. It's just me. I think that's purposely like Mimi's deformed. I'll take that compliment. Good.
Now, Grawpy, don't do that, shouted Hagrid. That's how you ended up pulling up the others.
And sure enough, Harry could see the earth around the tree's roots beginning to crack.
I got company for you, Hagrid shouted. Company, see? Look down, you big buffoon. I brought you some friends.
Oh, Hagrid, don't, moaned Hermione. But Hagrid had already raised the bow again and gave Grawp's knee a sharp poke. The giant let go of the top of the tree, which swayed alarmingly and deluged Harry with a rain of pine needles, and looked around.
This, said Hagrid, hastening over to where Harry and Hermione stood, is Harry, Grawp, Harry Potter. He might be coming to visit you if I have to go away. Understand?
The giant had only just realized that Harry and Hermione were there. They watched in great trepidation as he lowered his huge boulder of a head so that he could peer blearily at them.
And this is Hermione, see?
Hagrid hesitated. Turning to Hermione, he said,
Would you mind if he just called you Hermione? Only it's a difficult name for him to remember.
No, not at all, squeezed Hermione.
This is Hermy, Grawp, and she's gonna be coming and all. And she's gonna be coming and all. Isn't that nice, eh? 2 friends for you to... Grawpy, no!
Grawp's hand had shot out of... Oh, okay, let's see. Oh, sorry about that. I'm just gonna keep on going. Harry seized her and pulled her backwards behind the tree so that Grawp's fist scraped the trunk but closed on thin air.
Bad boy, Grawpy!
They heard Hagrid yelling as Hermione clung to Harry behind the tree, shaking and whimpering.
Very bad boy! You don't grab... Ouch!
Harry poked his head out from around the trunk and saw Hagrid lying on his back, his hand over his nose. Grawp, apparently losing interest, had straightened up and was again engaged in pulling back the pine as far as it would go.
Right,
said Hagrid thickly, getting up with one hand pinching his bleeding nose and the other grasping his crossbow.
Well, there you are. You've met him, and now he'll know you when you come back. Yeah. Well,
he looked up at Grawp, who was now pulling back the pine with an expression of detached pleasure on his boulderish face. The roots were creaking as he ripped them away from the ground.
Well, I reckon that's enough for one day, said Hagrid. Well, we'll go back now, shall we?
Harry and Hermione nodded. Hagrid shouldered his crossbow again, and still pinching his nose, led the way back into the trees. Nobody spoke for a while. Not even when they heard the distant crash that meant Grawp had pulled over a pine tree at last. Hermione's face was pale and set. Harry could not think of a single thing to say. What on earth was going to happen when somebody found out that Hagrid had hidden Grawp in the Forbidden Forest? And he had promised that he, Ron, and Hermione would continue Hagrid's totally pointless attempts to civilize the giant. How could Hagrid, even with his immense capacity to delude himself that fanged monsters were lovably harmless, fool himself that Grawp would ever be fit to mix with humans? Dumbly, Dumbo and Gumby. Oh.
Hold it,
said Hagrid abruptly, just as Harry and Hermione were struggling through a pair of thick knot grass behind him. He pulled an arrow out of the quiver of his shoulder and fitted it into the crossbow. Harry and Hermione raised their wands, and now that they had stopped walking, they too could hear movement close by.
Oh, blimey,
said Hagrid quietly. Oh yeah, what were these guys like again? Oh, what were the voices like? Cause Firenze was that guy who's just like very. He stares into the moon. Were they were all Italian, right? Were some of them like New York and Italian? Talking like this? I don't know. I forget what their voices were. I'm pretty sure it's them. A man's naked torso seemed for an instant to be floating towards them through the dappled green half-light. Then they saw that his waist joined smoothly into a horse's chestnut body. This centaur had a proud, high-cheekboned face and long black hair. Like Hagrid, he was armed. A quiver full of arrows and a longbow were slung over his shoulders. Mario and Luigi. Okay, so Firenze is like, he's the very airy guy. He's a looking into the stars. He's always a talking like this, or something like more a bit Luna Lovegood, but I don't know. Okay.
how are ya, Megorian?
Said Hagrid warily. The trees behind the centaur rustled, and 4 or 5 more centaurs emerged behind him. Harry recognized the black-bodied and bearded Bane, whom he had met nearly 4 years ago on the same night he had met Firenze. Bane gave no sign that he had ever seen Harry before. This is Bane now. Okay, I'm gonna try and give them they're a bit more angry. Make one of them a mob boss. Yeah. I'll make maybe Megorian the mob boss. Bane.
Oh no, he's a deep Italian guy, like this. Yes. So
he said with a nasty inflection in his voice, returning immediately to Megorian.
we agreed. I agreed. I think what we would do with this if this human never showed his face in the forest again. This human now, am I?
Said Hagrid testily.
Just for stopping all of you committing murder.
Okay, Megorian, he's okay. Megorian, he's the guy who's is mob boss, Italian mob boss.
The Italian mob boss, there we go. You ought not to have meddled, Hagrid,
said Megorian.
Our ways are not yours, nor are our laws. Firenze has betrayed and dishonored us. I don't know how you worked that out,
said Hagrid impatiently.
He's done nothing except help. I'm Albus Dumbledore.
A grey centaur with a hard, deeply lined face.
Firenze has entered into servitude to humans,
said a grey centaur with a hard, deeply lined face.
Servitude?
Said Hagrid scathingly.
He's doing Dumbledore a favour, is all.
He's peddling our knowledge and secrets among humans,
said Megorian quietly.
There can be no return from such disgrace.
Yeah, more like Godfather. If you go back and watch, you'll notice that only film chest up. Okay.
There can be no return for such disgrace.
If you say so,
said Hagrid, shrugging.
But personally, I think you're making a big mistake. As are you, human,
said Bane,
coming back into our forest when we are warned you. Now you listen to me,
said Hagrid angrily.
I'll have less of our forest if it's all the same to you. It's not up to you who comes and goes in here.
No more is it up to you, Hagrid,
said Megorian smoothly.
I shall let you pass today because you were accompanied by your young...
Then they are not his,
interrupted Bane contemptuously.
Students. Students, Megorian, from up at the school. They have probably already Oh, so bad. Already profited from the traitor of Frenzy's teachings.
Nevertheless, said Megorian calmly, the slaughter of fools is such a terrible crime. We do not touch the innocent. Today, Hagrid, you pass. Henceforth, stay away from this place. You forfeited the friendship of the Centaurs when you helped the traitor Firenze escape us.
I won't be kept out of the forest by a bunch of old mules like ya,
said Hagrid loudly. Hagrid, said Hermione in a high-pitched and terrified voice, as both Bane and the Grey Centaur pawed at the ground. Let's go, please, let's go!
Centaurians! Centaurians! The Centaurians!
How is this becoming old Japanese guy? It's not! Have you ever watched The Grandfather Part 3? The Godfather. Have you ever watched The Godfather? He always talks like that.
He talks like a little deep voice like this.
That's Marlon Brando. Japanese. What are you talking about? Clickety mouthful. Saturians. 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 The Grandfather Part 2. Hey, where gets going? Oh well. End of the movie. The Grandfather Part 3. I've fallen and broken my hip. End of movie. Grandfather Part 3. Okay. Where is it? Let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. Hagrid moved forwards, but his crossbow was still raised and his eyes were still fixed threateningly upon Megorian. Oh, we got a little left. We'll finish this page.
We know what you are keeping in the forest, Hagrid,
Megorian called after them as the centaur slipped out of sight.
And our tolerance is waning.
Hagrid turned and gave every appearance of wanting to walk straight back to Megorian.
You'll tolerate him as long as he's here. It's as much his forest as yours,
he yelled, as Harry and Hermione both pushed with all their might against Hagrid's moleskin waistcoat in an effort to keep him moving forwards. Still scowling, he looked down. His expression changed to mild surprise at the sight of both of them pushing him. He seemed not to have felt it.
Oh, calm down, you two,
he said, turning to walk on while they panted along behind him.
Ruddy old mules, though, eh?
Hagrid, said Hermione breathlessly, skirting the patch of nettles they had passed on their way there. The centaurs don't want humans in the forest. It doesn't really look as though Harry and I will be able to...
Oh, you heard what they said, said Hagrid dismissively. They wouldn't hurt fowls. I mean, kids. Anyway, we can't let ourselves be pushed around by that lot.
Nice try, Harry murmured to Hermione, who looked crestfallen. The grandfather, followed by the sequel's great-grandfather and great-great-grandfather. Yeah, totally. I'm gonna give him a denture he can't refuse. Rob Schneider is the grandfather. Oh, man, that's good. Oh, foals, not fowls. Foals, yep. At last they rejoined the path, and after another 10 minutes the trees began to thin. They were able to see patches of clear blue sky again, and, in the distance, the definite sounds of cheering and shouting.
Was that another goal?
Asked Hagrid, pausing in the shelter of the trees as the Quidditch stadium came into view.
What do you reckon? The match is over.
I don't know, said Hermione miserably. Harry saw that she looked much the worse for wear. Her hair was full of twigs and leaves. Her robes were ripped in several places, and there were numerous scratches on her face and arms. He knew he must look a little better.
I reckon it's over, you know,
said Hagrid, still squinting towards the stadium.
Look, there's people coming out already. If you two hurry, you'll be able to blend in with the crowd, and no one will know you weren't there.
Good idea, said Harry. Well, see you later then, Hagrid. I don't believe him, said Hermione in a very unsteady voice, the moment they were out of earshot of Hagrid. I don't believe him. I really don't believe him. Calm down, said Harry. Calm down, she said feverishly. A giant in the forest, and we're supposed to give him English lessons. Always assuming, of course, we can get past a herd of murderous centaurs on the way in and out. I don't believe him. We haven't got to do anything yet, Harry tried to reassure her in a quiet voice. We haven't got to do anything yet! Harry tried to reassure her in a quiet voice. The grandfather, you come to me today, the day of my bingo night.
That's so good. As they joined a stream of jabbering Hufflepuffs heading back towards the castle. He's not asking us to do anything unless he gets chucked out, and that might not even happen. Oh, come off it, Harry, said Hermione angrily, stopping dead in her tracks so that people behind her had to swerve to avoid her. Of course he's going to be chucked out, and to be perfectly honest, after what we've just seen, who can blame Umbridge? There was a pause in which Harry glared at her, and her eyes filled slowly with tears. You didn't mean that, said Harry quietly. No. Well, all right. I didn't, she said, wiping her eyes angrily. But why does he have to make life so difficult for himself? For us? I don't know.
Weasley is our king! Weasley is our king! He didn't let the quaffle in! Weasley is our king!
And I wish they'd stop singing that stupid song, said Hermione miserably. Haven't they gloated enough? A great tide of students was moving up the sloping lawns from the pitch. Oh, let's get in before we have to meet the Slytherins, said Hermione.
Weasley can save anything! He never leaves a single ring! That's why Gryffindors all sing, Weasley is our king!
Oh. Oh, he seems like he's done well. Hermione, said Harry slowly. The song was growing louder, but it was issuing not from a crowd of green and silver-clad Slytherins, but from a mass of red and gold moving slowly towards the castle, bearing a solitary figure upon its many shoulders.
Weasley is our king! Weasley is our king! He didn't let the quaffle in! Weasley is our king!
No? Said Hermione in a hushed voice. Yes! Said Harry loudly. Harry! Hermione! Yelled Ron, waving the silver Quidditch cup in the air and looking quite beside himself. We did it! We won! They beamed up at him as he passed. What? There was a scrum at the door of the castle, and Ron's head got rather badly bumped on the lintel, but nobody seemed to want to put him down. Still singing, the crowd squeezed itself into the entrance hall and out of sight. Harry and Hermione watched them go, beaming, until the last echoing strains of "Weasley is okay" died away. Then they turned to each other, their smiles fading. We'll save our news till tomorrow, shall we? Said Harry. Yes, all right, said Hermione wearily. I'm not in any hurry. They climbed the steps together. At the front doors, both instinctively looking back at the Forbidden Forest. Harry was not sure whether or not it was his imagination, but he rather thought he saw a small cloud of birds erupting into the air over the treetops in the distance, almost as though the tree in which they had been nesting had just been pulled up by the roots. End of the chapter. Yeah, that was fun. We have to gotta take care of a giant now? What the heck is that? What the heck is that about? And apparently Ron's the king. He actually did well in this match once his brothers weren't there. John Voth noticing things he is saying. Boo, Umbridge. Hermione crossed the line. Weasley is the king. Are you going long or not? No, sorry. No. Yeah, the camera also shakes a little bit because it's not up on I usually have the camera up on a shelf. Right now it's like just balancing on the table. Table moves. It's a bit of a shaky table. John, you actually made an almost right premonition. How do you feel about that? What do you mean? You mean when I said he's going to the forest and fighting the centaurs? Do you mean that? Do you mean when I nailed it 100% without a sliver or an inch of a deviation off of my premonition? I feel normal because it's just like my normal everyday state. You know, I see things, I say them, they become true. It's not surprising to me. It doesn't make me happy, you know? It's just how life is. Have you been able to set up the coat hanger book holder? Not quite yet. Where is it now? My coat hanger book holder is has not been set up yet. Not quite, but oh man, the book holder 3000. I spent millions on this. It's a beautiful thing. The premonition about the giants. I did both. Yeah, I premonitioned both, didn't I? What's the worst, hardest thing a friend has asked you to do while they're away? I don't think that's ever happened. Somebody was away? Oh, right. Yeah, actually, one time I was asked to assassinate
someone, which I said no to, but then did anyways. Just a surprise, my friend. Question, John. Have you warned your new roommates of this reading every night so they don't worry about you talking to yourself every night? Yeah, they know I do this. Yeah. I believe the reference is to July 16th. Hagrid's training is also prepared. He's not getting beat up. It's something to do with the Giants. He's training with them. Yeah. Like I said, he's training with his brother because his brother's going to take part in the final battles, right? So there's some fun Doom music happening in the background of the story. Yeah, I removed it now. It's good to be back, friends. Good to be back. I'm looking forward to getting everything set up. You know, I think packing. I like unpacking. I dislike unpacking more than I like packing. It just takes so long, and you have to find a place for everything. This is gonna take a little while, but I'll get everything set up, looking fun. Can play around with lights and all that kind of fun stuff. Who's your favorite and least favorite new roommate? I can't think of anybody but you, Nathan. Nathan used to be my roommate, and let me tell you, you think he's annoying on the chat? Just try and meet him in real life. I love you. I love you, Nathan. It's good to see you again, dude. Thanks, Max. You too. Good to have you back. Thanks, Jenny. Are you happy to be in your new home? I'm extremely happy. I'm very, very happy. I love this place already. I love this place. It's always also very, very close to everything. Our old house is very far away from the center of the city or anything shops or any kind of place with lots of people. So this is really close, which I'm really loving. I hate packing and moving. New roommates. You have to be in your home. Okay, friends. I hope you have a wonderful day. We'll be back tomorrow. I hope nothing bunks out. There might be... Okay, here's the thing. There might be a problem with the electricity in the room. This is an old house. I only have I have one outlet. Two outlets in the room. They're all both in the same position. So I have to like find ways to thread everything up. I hope things don't bunk out because both my screen and my light before I started both bunked out on me. I'm going to say the word bunked a lot. So I hope things don't go wrong when everything's set up. So just in case something goes wrong, that's what it is. All right, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow. You are loved. You have value and you have meaning. Do not forget that. Share it to others.